Okay, before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the full sturgeon moon, which we had last night, and it was a blue moon. That means that you get two full moons in the same month. So you got 29 days, full moon to full moon, and so you can have two full moons in the same month. So this is a full sturgeon moon last night, and it was really, really close, 14% closer than normal. So it was 14% bigger than what it normally is because it was closer to the earth than it normally gets. Now, a sturgeon is a big prehistoric looking fish that we have in the Suwannee River here in North Florida. These sturgeons, they'll fly up in the air right in front of your boat and land in your laps if you're not careful with them. Now, the sturgeon is a prehistoric looking ugly fish, but you can't eat the fish. It's full of bones, so it's hard to eat the fish, but it makes caviar. So in order to take the sturgeon, you catch the sturgeon and you kill the fish to get the fish eggs, the caviar out of it. So the sturgeon's the one you get the caviar out of. Now, I was on a United States nuclear submarine, a 637 class Sturgeon class submarine. Now, the Sturgeon class was all sea animals named: Guitarro, Pintado, hawkbill sea turtle. And then they came out with the 688 class Los Angeles class submarines. And these are all, when I was in the Navy back in the 70s, these were analog submarines. We actually listened with headsets to the outside sea. But with the 688s, it's all computers and digital, and it's not analog world anymore, it's digital world. So you got totally different submarine now than what we had. And the sturgeon is a heck of a fish. And that caviar, if you love caviar, the only way you're going to get it is out of a sturgeon. So that's all I'm going to talk about on the sturgeon full moon. The next full moon in September is called the full harvest moon, and it'll be real close. It's on the 17th of September at 10:34, and it'll give you a lot of time to harvest your crops before the snow covers them up and you can't harvest them anymore. And then you got a full hunter's moon in October the 17th at 7:26. And then you got the full beaver moon in November the 15th. And then you have the full cold moon in December the 15th. So we still got all these full moons left here in this year. Now we're going to continue on in our Father's Word here in the last of Exodus. We're going to finish up in Exodus. And then we're going to go into Leviticus, the laws. Okay. This is Exodus 40, verse 29. And he put the altar of burnt offering by the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and offered upon it the burnt offerings and the meat offerings, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he set the laver between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and put water there to wash withal. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet thereat, when they went into the tent of the congregation. And when they came near unto the altar, they washed, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court gate. So Moses finished the work. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud abode thereof, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not until the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and by fire on it was by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel, throughout all their journeys. Now this is Leviticus, the third book that Moses wrote. And the Lord called upon Moses, and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall bring the blood, and sprinkle the blood around about the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall flay the burnt offering, and cut it into pieces. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire upon the altar, and lay the wood in order upon the fire. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall lay the parts and the head and the fat in order upon the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar. But his innards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn it all on the altar, to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of sweet savor unto the Lord. And his offering be of the flocks, namely, of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward, before the Lord. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall sprinkle the blood round about the altar, and he shall cut it into his pieces, with his head and his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire, which it is upon the altar. But he shall wash the innards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it all, and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of sweet savor unto the Lord. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. And the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and burn it on the altar. And the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar on the east part, by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon. And he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priest, and he shall take thereout his hand full of flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense